Good morning, brokers. Let's get this webinar started. My name is Nick Kremydas, the CEO of the South Carolina Association of Realtors. I want to welcome all of you to our quarterly updates. Today we have a couple of special guests. All of you know our General Counsel, Byron King, who's going to be joining us today. We're going to dig into some form questions and some other legal updates. But first, we have a special guest with us. And before I introduce Sherry, I want to just reiterate, please do not use any independent recording devices, AI bots, or whatever the latest tech is. It's all that stuff. You don't know where that's going in the cloud, guys. So be careful with all of that stuff. And feel free to type your questions into the chat. Please use the chat instead of the Q&A. Well, I'll check out both, but stick to the chat for your questions. We'll make every effort to get to your questions today. We will be doing a little Q&A after the presentation this morning. So we want to welcome Sherry Chris, our special guest. Sherry provides strategic counsel on strengthening relationships, building trust, and enhancing collaboration with broker leaders for the National Association of Realtors. She is an 18-year veteran of Anywhere Real Estate, where she most recently served as its executive advisor. Previously, she was the CEO of the Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Group, ERA Real Estate, and even served as COO for Coldwell Banker. So Sherry, thank you for sharing your insights and your wisdom, and welcome today.
Thank you so much, Nick, for that wonderful introduction. And I am guessing that I know some people in the audience. So I want to thank you all. 300 registrations. That's fantastic. So somebody's not getting any sound there. I guess you can hear me okay, yes?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Okay, good. So sorry, the chat pops up and I can see it. So he's got it now, which is good. So good morning. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you this morning. Nick, thank you so much for allowing me to present to this wonderful audience today. And what I want to do is just give a little background of why I'm here. I do have a few slides to show you, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A. So as Nick graciously pointed out, and what he didn't say is that I'm actually a 40-year veteran of the real estate industry and have worked in the United States since 2003, mostly for Anywhere, formerly known as Realogy. I decided that it was time to step down about a year and a half ago. And as I was planning my retirement, Nykia Wright, the CEO of NAR, reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in advising her and others as to how to rebuild broker relationships and build a strong connection between NAR and the broker owners and leaders across the country. And honestly, it was too good to resist because that's what I've done my entire career. And so I hit the ground running in January. And one of the first things that I needed to do was learn about the inner workings of NAR and everything that NAR has to offer. A lot of it is hidden, and it's not something that we think about each and every day. So I put this deck together that I want to share. It's really my opinion on things, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. And so if we can advance the slide, we're going to talk about the NAR mission, the three-way agreement, value that's provided to our members, and what's next at NAR. So let's keep going here with the deck if we can to the next slide. And the first thing that I want to do is share with you Nykia Wright's org chart. And there's a reason why I'm doing that. There's been a lot of change, as you know, at NAR, and a lot of turmoil with the lawsuits, with other legal problems that have surfaced, et cetera. And Nykia took over 18 months ago as CEO of NAR and immediately started implementing changes. Now, some of those changes had to do with cost savings measures because of the 3 settlement payments that need to be made. The first one has been made successfully, and there are 2, as you may know, to follow. But she also felt that it was very important to build her own team. And so one of the things that she said to me early on is, I want to have my direct reports and my team in place so then they can have their teams in place for a new National Association of Realtors. So what we see here is her executive team. It's not always public, so I'm sharing it with you. And in fact, this deck will be available for you after. And you're welcome to use it in any positive way that you see fit. So I want to go through these executives for you because they're all very impressive. And starting with Shannon McGann, who is the Chief Advocacy Officer. And advocacy is one of the most important functions of NAR, as I've learned over the years, and even more so in the last 6 months that I've been there as an advisor. Of course, Dr. Yun and his role as far as research and data. As we know, data is very, very important today, and that historical data and forward-looking data as well. A new general counsel, John Wachowski, is a wonderful addition who previously served in an advocacy role and as one of the counsels internally. And he's helping move things forward in a very positive way. Of course, some of you have heard from and know Mark, who oversees technology and RPR, which is, one of the best loved and most used tools that NAR has, as well as Second Century Ventures and the technology research arm. Jared Grasso is a new hire, and Jared and I work very closely together. Jared is the SVP of Industry Relations as it relates to the state associations, the large local boards, and MLSs. And so, Jared was very instrumental in having me here to be able to address you today. Some new hires: Elizabeth Rano, education and events. You're going to see a lot of changes at NAR in the months and years to come around the way events are hosted and put on, and the educational offering for brokers and agents. She's really starting from scratch and has a great background in education and events, and will bring that to the forefront to make the changes that we all think are necessary. A new Chief HR Officer, Sharon White, who was most recently successfully, I know we hate to say this, eliminated 61 positions that some of them were redundant, some of them needed change. And so she's done an amazing job there as well. A new CFO. NAR never really had what I'd call a sophisticated chief financial officer. And so as a trade organization, money came in, money went out. And now Matt is changing all of that, and it's really running more like a business. And in fact, Nykia often says that she believes that NAR should run as a public company rather than a trade organization. And I happen to agree with that. And then a new SVP of Marketing and Communications. I think you all probably agree with me in that the communication style at NAR in the past was old-fashioned and outdated and not as transparent as it could be. And so Bennett is just joining, and you'll see significant changes there. So that's really reason one why I agreed to join as an advisor, because I just think that there are exciting things ahead at NAR, and change is the first thing that needs to happen. So let's move on to the next slide. And the NAR mission. So I poked around at the beginning and uncovered a mission that I believe is very strong, and that is to empower realtors as they preserve, protect, and advance the right to real property for all. That is a powerful statement, and it's a statement that doesn't always come to the forefront. So I wanted to share that with you today. And in the next slide, if we can move on, we're going to talk about the three-way agreement. And so there's a lot of a lot of talk about this, and some negative, some positive, some neutral. But I want to give my opinion on all of this, and that is the importance of the state, the local, and the national associations working together to ensure that the professionalism of realtors remains intact and that the realtors across the country are able to serve the consumer in the absolute best way possible. And so when we think about the fact that there are probably today about 1.4 million realtors across the country. That's the largest trade organization in the country. And we need this infrastructure to make sure that all of our rules and regulations and professionalism stays in place. And so actually it was Jared that came up with your membership trifecta. And I'm going to guess that Jared likes to go to the horse races, because for those of you who ever go to the racetrack, you'll know what a trifecta is. But let's move on to the next slide if we could. And so, if we look at the local boards, making connections, access to multiple listing, frontline resource, local networking, grassroots advocacy at the local level, shaping local politics or policies, I should say. That's a very, very important. And it's important for all of our local realtors to belong to the local board. And we'll move on to the next, if we could, and that's state, and that's expanding your reach, education opportunities, legislative advocacy. And when we talk about advocacy and Shannon's group, the advocacy reach is national, statewide, and local as well. So a statewide community of real estate practitioners and state level legal and compliance resources, all very important. And then we'll move on to the next slide, which speaks to national. And that's unified, nationwide advocacy platform, research, cutting edge tech, legal and management resources, and national and global network of professionals. And so when you look at it this way, it really does make sense, in my opinion, and hopefully yours as well, that there's importance at all three levels, and each one of those levels actually acts in a different manner to bring everything together for realtors. So our next slide, if we could, that really, this slide speaks to the dynamic three-tiered structure. So the ecosystem, the right to use the realtor brand, the shared code of ethics, amplified influence, unmatched benefits, and access to NAR insurance for associations and NMLSs. So I think it makes sense, and I hope you do as well. So if we move on now, and that's just a snapshot slide of what I just talked about for your use. And so, as you know, you'll have access to this deck. So let's move on to the next piece of what we're going to talk about now, and that's the code of ethics and standards of business practice. And having been in this industry in both Canada and the US, I started my real estate career as an agent in Canada. Having a code of ethics and standards of business practice couldn't be more important. So we need that as licensed realtors across the country. And we have to make sure that we work together to ensure that others don't try and take this down. When we think about the importance of what we do each and every day as realtors in really helping consumers fulfill the American dream of home ownership, it's very, very important that that level of ethics and professionalism is there. And so next, now I'm going to talk about some of the things that I observe on a regular basis. And that is, I guess I'll call it my elevator pitch. And my elevator pitch is that there are really four different functions that NAR does very effectively at the at the national level. And the first, of course, is advocacy. And when we look at these numbers, over 5,000 congressional meetings with NAR, this was in 2024, that team works so hard, and they work hard on your behalf and on behalf of the consumers as well to make sure that the correct policy is in place to help us move forward with home ownership for as many people as possible. So that's number one is advocacy. And then number two is on the next slide, if we could. Uh, Market leading research. And I talked about that before in the org chart, but data has never been more important. And I love the work that Dr. Yun and his team does for us. And we probably don't use it enough. In my previous roles in leading various brands, we didn't pay enough attention to the work that NAR, the state association, the local associations were doing for our agents. Education is the third piece, and the certification programs and the education programs to maintain that level of professionalism, very important. And then, of course, the technology and business tools, and including our PR and others. Those are what I call the four pillars of NAR that as broker owners and as branch leaders and company leaders, you can talk to your realtors and agents about each and every day. So let's move on if we can. And legal affairs, of course, is very important as well. And the outreach visits, the insurance program, hot topics, the monthly broker calls, it seems like we're on the phone with our legal team constantly. And one of the things that they are working on now that is more behind the scenes is rather than reacting to various legal challenges that come our way, they're working out front to, what they call de-risk the industry for us, to de-risk potential legal challenges that might come in the future. And as we know, the lawsuits were very painful for many and continue to be, and we need to make sure that that, in fact, does not happen again. And so taking a proactive approach is very important. Next slide, please, if we can. And the insurance program is something that we don't always think about, errors and omissions, the director and officers insurance, et cetera. And so that's also an important part of NAR. And we're getting towards the end of my deck, but a few more slides if we could move on. Redefining member experience. So helping realtors every day is really what NAR does. And, it's a way that we benefit our members and by all of the things that I previously mentioned. And so we also want to and work to empower and partner with the state and local associations and, not work against the state and local associations. And, one of the things that I think of now and with the challenges that we've had in the past few years and months is sometimes it takes, significant trauma to help facilitate change. And I can tell you that the new NAR that I see each and every day as an outside advisor is very different than years gone by. And I'm really encouraged by the team and what they're working on for the future of our industry. So next slide, if we could. Our dues. And so this is something that we don't always talk about. And it's important to talk about how actual little we pay at the national level and for everything that I just mentioned. And so the dues are $156 a year per realtor, plus the 45 consumer ad spend for a total of $201 per year. Now, when I joined in January as an advisor, Nykia and I talked about the importance of not raising the dues Oh, I'm just getting some thank yous here, which is great. So yes, hopefully that was for NAR not raising the dues. That's a lot for not much. And it's important, during this time of change that the dues were not raised. And I will tell you that the team worked very hard to balance the budget and make sure that services were not discontinued, important ones, but that the cost of those services did not increase. So something to actually speak to your agents about. Next, please, if we could. And so now I want to talk about what I do. And so my role primarily is to reach out to brokers and of all sizes through the state and local associations like I'm doing today, but also individually. One of the first jobs at hand in January for me was to pick up the phone and start calling broker owners that were personally affected by the settlement. So the 2 billion and above group that were excluded from the settlement and had to write their own checks. And how painful was that? I was honestly met with anger, disappointment, etc. And each broker that I talked to, and I'm sharing this with you openly, by the end of almost all of those calls, each broker that I talked to said, I want to be part of the solution. They recognize the importance of our industry and the importance of continuing to grow their businesses as well. So to date, I have presented to hundreds of brokers and members of NAR, in fact, thousands now. I just did a 6-month tally where I've addressed over 10,000 agents and brokers personally, either virtually or at conferences and in-person events. I've engaged with over 80 of the top 100 brokers and, have talked personally to them and will be holding meetings with them in the months to come in Chicago, where they'll, have an audience with NAR and an open dialogue back and forth. I'm working with over 30 state and local associations to hold broker summits like we're doing this morning to spread the word and to have an open dialogue with brokers and industry leaders all across the country. So that's a lot for one person. I do have a great support team of NAR employees that's helping do this. And one of the things that I noticed and Nykia noticed and others noticed was that although the realtors are the paying members into this trade association, we forgot about the brokers and the importance of their leadership and the risk that you all take each and every day in operating your companies. And so there's a new day ahead where we're going to meet with and engage with broker owners and leaders of all different sizes moving forward, and you'll see that happening. So next slide. What's ahead for our members? So I just really talked about it. A redefined member experience, new educational offerings, a role in shaping the policy landscape post-election, and an open dialogue where it's not NAR talking to you, it's NAR listening. And so Nykia says it well, the NAR of tomorrow must meet our members' modern day needs, not the needs of yesterday. And so I think I'm approaching my almost final slide, if we could. We're listening. And so I want to move on to the absolute last slide because I believe it has my information on it and my email address, sherry@sherrychris.com, my cell phone. You can text me if you have questions or concerns or feedback. We want to hear from you. And I want to thank you today and Nick in particular for allowing me to share my point of view and share some updates from the National Association of Realtors. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Nick, if there are any questions that some I might not be able to answer, but I'll answer every one to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Sherry. We really appreciate your time and your insights today. brokers, you may remember more than a year ago when we were in the heat of the storm of I probably messed that up, but when we were in the middle of it, we had PR nightmare, we had the settlement nightmare, we were all dealing with all of this change and and what did I tell y'all? What did I ask y'all to do? I asked y'all to be patient as the then interim CEO Nykia Wright was starting to get a handle on the massive ship that is NAR, ship with a P. Sorry, and there was. I think our patience has been rewarded with. I mean, we're seeing the change happen in real time. Um, New leadership team, people like Sherry that has real world experience, people that have been in your shoes, that know what it takes to run a real estate company, that knows how to be successful in challenging times. And these new staff, the new leadership roles that have been created and assigned at NAR are making an extremely positive impact. And I want to thank all of you for your patience because, change either happens faster than we want or it doesn't happen as fast as we want, right? No, we're never happy with the rate of change. But we knew that there needed to be changes at NAR, and I am confident, I remain extremely optimistic that the changes that are taking place, that continue to take place at NAR, are going to be very positive for our members. I will just say this. We were in Washington just a few weeks ago for the RLM, the Realtor Legislative Meetings, and we saw firsthand 130 realtors from South Carolina that were part of the almost 8,000 realtors that attended that event. We were on the Hill. We were meeting with our Congress people, our senators, and we addressed those tax issues that are going to impact you and your clients. We addressed the governance issues at NAR that impact your day-to-day business. And guys, this is only getting better. And y'all know me well enough that I don't see the world through rose-colored glasses. I kind of call it like it is. And I am extremely proud to be part of this change and to be hosting Sherry today. I think her insights were very timely for all of us. So Sherry, we do have a couple of questions here that I'll throw at you, and this may be something is very recent in the news. This has to do with the lawsuits against Zillow for their ban on private listings, and curious if you think that NAR is going to respond to this. I know they were not named in this particular lawsuit. Does NAR have any thoughts that you can share at this time?
Well, we're watching it very closely, obviously, and I can say, um, sort of tongue in cheek, and I was talking to a few of the leadership members earlier this morning. It's probably one of the first times that NAR wasn't named in something in the recent past. Um, Here's how I'll answer this is that during the period of time, which was several months of gathering information on the clear cooperation decision that NAR made recently, I have to say that although I wasn't involved in that decision, and nor was Nykia, as an example, because she's a non-voting member of NAR. So it's the volunteer executive team that really, leads the charge, so to speak. And there were, literally hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pages of documentation. I provided some of it, opinions of large brokers, medium brokers, small brokers as to what they felt it should be. And a 50-page document was the result of that, an internal document, and that helped guide the decision at that time. And the decision makers knew that not everyone, of course, was going to be happy because, a company like Compass is on one side of the fence, Zillow and others on another. But a decision had to be made. And so I'll answer that question by saying, there will be ongoing change. I don't know specifically today what that change will be, but one thing that I do know is that the decision-making process is not haphazard. It's well thought out. That includes, leadership, that includes legal, that includes other individuals and groups that are asked for information. And so NAR will, to the best of its ability, try and facilitate what's fair for the members and ultimately the end consumer as well. So that might sound like a political answer to like a politician not answering the question, but I answered it to the best of my ability. I have to say, as an outsider myself, that I'm impressed with the just the level of detail and conversation that goes into these things. So there's going to be change that will continue to come. It's going to be an interesting to watch this lawsuit unfold and to see what the end result, if there is going to be an end result, will be. So I'm going to be reading it every day, and I'm sure all of you will be as well.
Thank you, Sherry. I think that also addresses the other question we got about, what the future of client representation looks like, and how do we expect that to change. The one thing realtors are experts at is dealing with change, right?
Yeah.
And in the course of our careers, we've seen so many things that have impacted the industry: recessions, TRID, COVID. And brokers, this business does not get any easier. Um, but what does happen is that you become better at handling the change. Um, and so in that sense, um, education is your primary defense against unwanted or unlikely change. But having knowledge is power, and understanding the complexities of the issue, understanding the process that we have to move forward with, I think will be key and vital for us, for all of us, as we continue to navigate this. Because in South Carolina, Sherry, we still have one of the copycat lawsuits are still pending,
I know.
and that will likely start to run its course next year after the settlement, the appeal of the settlement is finalized. And so
Yeah.
there's always going to be something. And I always encourage our brokers, um, focus on your business plan, focus on your agents and on your clients, um, and you'll continue to succeed in your markets. Sherry, I don't see any other questions for you in the chat. Um,
I got two quick things.
sure.
Just to add on to what you just said, Nick, and to the audience. If you'll remember, I said de-risking NAR. It's something that is in process with the legal team, and that is to identify potential hurdles that might come our way, from the DOJ, from other sources in the future, and make sure that we're out in front of that. That will, that will continue to facilitate necessary change, and that change, I believe, will always be, made for the better of the industry overall, although people may not everyone might agree with that. But I like the proactive approach. The final thing that I'll say is that I've already received an email from David Lockwood. So thank you, David, for your kind words. And if anyone wants to talk, please reach out. And I'm here for the broker community across the country. And Nick, I want to thank you again for allowing this opportunity and everyone for listening.
Awesome. Sherry, thank you. You're always welcome in South Carolina. Appreciate that, all the work that you're doing. And we
Thank
will
you.
catch up again real soon.
We will. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
All right, brokers. Now I'm going to ask Byron to join us here. And where's Byron? Byron, are you there? There he is. Hey, Byron. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nick.
So, brokers, we've got a couple more things to talk about this morning. I hope you found that informative. NAR continues to evolve, and we will continue to be part of the solution. I think the organization, as you've heard me say before, we need a strong NAR. We need a strong advocacy team in Washington. You know, now more than ever, with all of the tax issues that are on the table, who knows what the Senate is going to do with the House's bill on tax reform. That's why we need boots on the ground, why we need our lobbying team, why we need a strong NAR. So today we've got time to cover, I think, a couple of things. First, let's jump into a couple of updates from the Real Estate Commission. Brokers, I hope you are receiving those email updates from the commission. As soon as we get notice of them, we put them in our updates and push those out to our members as well. They post them on the front page of the Real Estate Commission website. Byron, I don't know if you can chat everybody with the commission's URL, but just in the last week, they've added a couple of new guidance letters. And for those of you that have a little experience under your belts, know that this is kind of a new thing from the commission. And if you know your commissioner, you should know who your commissioner is for your district. Please tell them thank you. This is the most proactive we've ever seen the Real Estate Commission, and frankly, I love it. Having this guidance is very helpful in guiding our members through some of the issues that they have to deal with every day. So a couple of interesting things that I'll throw out there. The commission issued a fraud awareness letter, which is really, really good. I would strongly encourage y'all to check this out. All of us have been dealing with these fake land scams. And if you missed our webinar from Friday, we did one on the new pig butchering scam. That's on our YouTube channel and available for viewing now. But the guidance letter from the commission provides some very helpful information. The attorney that drafted this used to work for the DMV and is able to highlight ways to spot things like how to spot a fake driver's license. Might be good to might be good to know as you're dealing with some of these unknown buyers or fake land sale scams. It's hard to say that real fast. There's a new letter on reciprocity. There was actually a statutory change in our license law that allows the commission to more proactively address license reciprocity, basically allowing CE to count in other states. They've reached an agreement with the Georgia Real Estate Commission. For those of you that cross over into Georgia, no agreement has been reached on with North Carolina, which was kind of the big request. There are about 4,000, I think, licensees in dual licensees in North Carolina and South Carolina. But y'all know North Carolina is a broker-only state. They don't have a salesperson affiliated licensee category. And so North Carolina has been very reluctant to approve South Carolina CE in that regard. So I don't see that happening, certainly not with 6 days left before the deadline for this year. So I would encourage all of you North Carolina licensees or those of you that have agents with North Carolina licenses to get your South Carolina CE in before the deadline. I guess the big one of the last few weeks has to be the office inspection one. Byron, do you want to hit the highlights on the office inspection program?
Yes, sir. So brokers, the Real Estate Commission is funding audits, inspections for every broker. So they'll be going around the state. They'll contact you and they have a checklist. I'll post their checklist into the chat. Please download the SCR short office policy. You need to fill it out with your name, checkbox a few things. It's only 3 pages. When they come in to inspect you and they ask for your broker policy, you hand them this document, and that's an A+ on that part of the checklist.
Yeah, I think this is another example of the Real Estate Commission being proactive. If you've never attended a Real Estate Commission meeting, schedule one of your sales meetings around one of their hearing dates. I don't know, Byron, isn't there a TV program called Scared Straight or something where they put kids with like convicts and stuff? This is kind of a real estate version of this, where your agents will see the worst of the worst in our industry during these disciplinary hearings, and is certainly an educational moment for everyone. And the Real Estate Commission, back in the day, used to regularly randomly audit companies. Their goal is to audit every company at least once every 3 years. It's a pretty big goal, with thousands and thousands of companies that are in South Carolina. But I applaud them for making this effort and signaling, to the brokers that um, uh, that they take enforcement very seriously. And if you noticed, there are more stringent requirements for those brokerages that are out of state, that don't have a physical office in South Carolina. Again, trying to make sure that they're able to fully investigate anyone that's doing business in South Carolina. So please call the SCR Legal Hotline and review those materials. Those are pretty standard, obviously statutorily required, and make sure that you're in compliance. And then you don't have to worry when you get that knock on the door, because you'll be ready. Um, so, and brokers, feel free to throw in a question or two in the chat if you have anything to ask about these topics. We'll do our best to try to answer them. We've got a few more minutes here. So the next big thing today happens to be the release of our new updated forms. They should be available in Zip Forms today and our other platforms as we go into this afternoon and this week. But these forms should not be any strangers to any of you. We have been sharing drafts of these forms with you for the last probably 6 to 8 weeks, getting your input and feedback. And Dale, thanks for letting us know that you saw that .loop had some of those already in there. But the reason, we don't update these forms a lot. And even though we've gotten lots of comments, oh, there goes SCR updating forms again. Well, we updated them last summer to get ready for the August 17th implementation date, right, of the settlement terms. And we waited to get your feedback once these forms were out, kind of in the real world, on the street, so to speak. And we released drafts of these, got your feedback, made some additional improvements based on your feedback, and they're ready to hit the market. So there are new broker-to-broker compensation forms, seller-to-buyer broker compensation form, an updated buyer agency forms. Those have all been updated. Agreement to buy and sell, also updated. And a new home warranty addendum as a result of that language being taken out of the sales agreement. So if you have not already watched Austin's videos, Byron, if you could throw a link to our YouTube channel, please, in the chat. Please share this. Please show these videos at your next sales meeting, as these forms are now live and in use all across the state. Austin is available for Zoom meeting trainings, in-person trainings, and we'll certainly be hitting the streets over the next. Byron, that's not the right URL. You put an @ in front of SC Realtors. I don't think that works. I think you need to take the @ symbol out. Sorry. So we're excited to be rolling out these new forms, of course, being settlement compliant, and moving forward with these changes. Now, keep in mind, these forms, none of this stuff is ever really written in stone. We'll continue to evaluate your feedback and we'll continue to make changes as we go forward. So a couple of questions that have popped up. If someone is currently under the old buyer agency agreement and are not under contract yet, should we update it to the new buyer agency agreement? Typically, when a new form is released, like when the Real Estate Commission updated the seller disclosure form, the property condition disclosure form, or listing agreements, things like that, we typically ask you to update those, especially last summer when we went from adding language to be settlement compliant. This is certainly an office decision for you. We are not saying that it's required that you update to the new forms, but would certainly encourage it if you're able to have that conversation and get your client to work with you on that. The other question that's come in is why was the mediation clause removed? The mediation clause, as we reviewed the whole contract. We reviewed all of these contracts, and part of our goal was to simplify, shorten, remove as much legalese as possible, and again, remaining settlement compliant, licensed law compliant, South Carolina law compliant, all those things. And the mediation clause was originally put in the contract years ago before it became a thing with the courts. Today, any litigation that's going to result from a contractual issue between the parties is going to be ordered to mediation by the courts. It's just part of the process now. And so in that sense, that language has become redundant and is not necessary. Mediation, of course, as you know, is voluntary between the parties. You can't force parties to mediate. But as a result of the changes in our courts over the last 15, 20 years, the mediation clause was seemed to be redundant and was removed just in order to keep things shorter. You'll see the things like the sex offender registry language was updated and shortened. The liability language was updated to protect our members and create some uniformity between the forms and such. All right. So we've had a few questions about where they can find the office policy manuals, Byron. That's on our forms page of our website. If you could share those links in the chat. Brokers, any other questions? We've still got a few minutes. We're not quite to the top of the hour yet. I'm happy to address this or anything else that may be on your mind. Byron, we've got a member saying that the forms are not on our website. We'll get Mike to check on that as soon as we're done with the webinar and make sure that those are done. If they're not on the website yet, they will be by lunchtime. Can the updated forms be emailed to the brokers in charge? We can include links in our, we'll send out a newsletter to the BICs and can do that, Tracy. That's easy to do. Older forms are being removed as they are no longer going to be supported by SCR Legal. And older forms will not be available in any of our libraries going forward. Tammy asks, what's the update on the copycat lawsuit? That's a great question. The short answer is there is no update, no changes, I should say. That case was put on hold, if you remember, last year as a result of the national, of the Sitzler case being settled and a settlement agreement having been reached. Now, because that settlement is still under appeal, you may have read about that earlier this year. There was a deadline for filing briefs in that matter. There was one by a law professor that got a lot of attention by some of the real estate news outlets. I don't think any of those are going to affect the outcome of that appeal, but we'll have to let that course play out. Once that appeal is finalized, and the settlement given formal approval, then this copycat lawsuit will get the green light to proceed again. There are about 50 defendants named in that lawsuit. Most of them are realtor members that are covered by the national settlement. I expect them to be dismissed pretty quickly once that moves forward. So for now, that case is still on hold, and the judge has the case on hold until the settlement appeal has run its course. All right, so couple of other questions. Let's see. The office inspection WebEx that LLR conducted was recorded, Christy, and this is not only, I think you can find it on the Real Estate Commission website, but we made it easy, and it's in our video library on our YouTube channel. So please check that out. The audio quality is a little spotty on that, so be patient with the video. We did not produce it, but we're happy to share it, and we may end up doing our own a little bit later just to improve the production value, but we'll see. Let me know what you think after you watch it. Let's see. Can you share the link for the office inspections? Byron's done that. Let's see. Oh, great question on disputed earnest money. What's the best way to remove disputed earnest money from your accounts? That is a tough question that we don't have a great answer for right now. Most companies today are using attorneys to hold earnest money, although a lot of companies are still acting as escrow agents. Remember, as a realtor, when you are acting as an escrow agent, your responsibility and duty is 100% loyalty to both parties that have a claim to that money. As such, you should not release those funds unless you've got a mutually agreed to release signed by both parties. We have amended the language in the agreement regarding escrow monies in those cases when an attorney holds the funds, that the attorney can release those funds at the discretion of the closing attorney in line with the terms of the agreement. We hope that will help in some of these situations. We'll have to wait and see how that plays in the field. I don't know exactly how the closing attorneys will address that. But I know of companies that have years and years of disputed funds in their accounts, and sometimes in the 4, 5, even 6 figures of dollar amounts. And there is no automatic, you transferring these funds to the Secretary of State or the Treasurer. There is no automatic way that you can release these and have zero liability as such. If you've got a specific question, please call the legal hotline. Another good question from an attendee that says, we have a North Carolina office policy. Do we also need a South Carolina policy? The short answer is no, if your North Carolina policy complies with the South Carolina requirements. And so that's the short answer to that. It doesn't matter if you're in North Carolina or South Carolina. You don't necessarily need to have a separate South Carolina policy. Just make sure the policy you have complies with the requirements of South Carolina law. Sorry, just reading some. There's a question from a realtor asking who their commissioner is. They're on the website and they see that their commissioner's term has expired. Well, an interesting fact, a little fun fact that y'all will learn today, that a commissioner's term, even though it has expired, will continue to fill that seat unless someone else is appointed to replace them, or unless the real estate commissioner actively steps down. So that commission seat can continue to be held by that commissioner, even though it has expired. Those commissioners are, except for the at-large commissioner, they're all elected by congressional delegation. And there are two that are appointed by the governor that cannot be in the real estate business. So fun fact about real estate commissioners. And you should get to know and invite your real estate commissioner to your next sales meeting. Let them talk about, what are the hot button issues that they're seeing on their disciplinary actions, and where they're seeing problems in the industry. They tend to be kind of leading indicators of change that's happening in your markets. All right, I think we've got time for one more question. Does anybody else have anything else for the update today? Main thing today was the update from NAR, and appreciate again Sherry being part of the group. We threw in the forms and the real estate commission stuff here because it's timely. I understand there's concerns with some of the formatting from .loop. I'll reach out to my contact there and see if we can't get some improvement there. And otherwise, just one last thing. Tune in to our weekly updates, brokers. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you don't like our Facebook page, please sign up and check the box or ring the bell for those alerts, so that when we do these live updates, follow me on Facebook. I do a lot of updates, just short updates, on my Facebook page, and would love to hear your feedback. And okay, final thing. Here's the last thing for today. Please invite your SCR legal team to your next sales meeting. Last year, I attended more than 70 office meetings and loved every minute of it. Now, the information I was sharing wasn't always the most fun. We talked a lot about settlement stuff, as you can imagine. But I would love to come and talk to your office about the latest updates from the commission, what's happening with the South Carolina legislature, what's happening with tax reform in Washington. Would love to come out to your office, whether it's fair housing training, contract training. Tierra, Austin, Byron, and myself, we'd love to come and visit with you. And we can do it over Zoom. We can do it in person as well, depending, as long as our schedule allows and you give us enough lead time. So, brokers, it is 11 a.m. I want to thank you for your time and attention this morning. Everyone, please stay cool. We've got a record-breaking heat wave. It's hot even for South Carolina today. And stay cool out there, stay safe, stay realtor strong, and we'll be back in touch again real soon. Thank you, everyone.